It's primary election day in key races in Maryland, Utah, and here in New York, where polls have just opened.
And multi-far-left candidates are vying for the top spots across the Empire State.
Doug Luzader is live in Washington with the very latest. Hey, Doug.
Ainsley, Lawrence, and Brian, good morning. So just how influential is New York Mayor Zohran Mamdani? We're about to find out. Multiple Mamdani-backed candidates are hoping to bring their agenda to Congress, including fellow Democratic Socialists Daria-Liza Avila-Chevalier and Claire Valdez, as well as far-left former New York City Comptroller Brad Lander. Here are Lander and Valdez speaking last night.
And our solidarity, it doesn't end at the Hudson or at the Potomac. Our solidarity stretches out to Cuba and Venezuela and it stretches to Gaza.
And friends, the stakes are high. We know that. We have fascists in the White House. We have a racist and transphobe in the White House. And we've got billionaires and oligarchs and bosses and corporations who have led us to this point.
Okay, and in the Palmetto State, South Carolina voters will head to the polls for the GOP runoff election there. And President Trump has thrown his support behind both of those gubernatorial candidates you see there, Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evette and State Attorney General Alan Wilson. The president posted this, quote, "These were the two that I was hoping would get into a runoff, and they did. I can't hurt one of them by only endorsing the other, so therefore I'm going to endorse for Governor of South Carolina both Pam Evette and Alan Wilson. It's a wealth of riches. With either one, you can't go wrong." Polls are going to open in South Carolina in just under an hour. Lawrence, Brian, and Ainsley, back to you guys.
Today is Tuesday, June 23rd, 2026, and you are currently residing in what used to be known as the United States of America. You thought that you lived in a republic. That's how this nation was, of course, founded on some very old pieces of parchment paper a long time ago. What you didn't realize is that when you woke up this morning, something changed. Last night, in the small hours of the evening, while you were asleep, that you now live in the dictatorship of Sparkle Snookman. And the United States of America doesn't exist anymore because third world immigrants from India decided to be migrants to Trinidad and Tobago, whatever that is. I think that's a toboggan. It's where they made the toboggan. I think that's where the toboggan comes from. You remember Cool Runnings? I think it's somewhere around there. So it's like that's where they created the toboggan. That's why Cool Runnings was there, and why John Candy was able to win an Olympic medal. And I think that's a really special part of the world history. But anyway, the people who created the toboggan had some Indian migrants who made a baby and named her Sparkle Snookman. And instead of staying in the toboggan factory where they make the toboggans, they imported her to America like last year. And like she came to America, she fell, I think, ass backwards through some type of a designer store where she ended up in a black robe, and she picked up a hammer from the street, a construction site, and started declaring things. And because she was wearing the right outfit, and because nobody can pronounce or spell her name, and because everyone likes Cool Runnings, we all just decided to follow her decrees, and now she's the dictator of the world, or at least our once known as America, United States of America land. She's now the Sparkle Snookman dictator of the earth. And dear leader is what? Dear Sparkle leader is what now we live under, the dictatorship. And that's how it works now. Your ancestors, doesn't matter. Their wars, doesn't matter. The cemeteries, doesn't matter. The beaches and fields they died in order to literally keep people named Sparkle Snookman, toboggan maker, out of your country, like entirely, much less rule over you. None of that matters. Immigration rules and restrictions against people named Sparkle Snookman that were instituted by our ancestors, none of that matters. And so now you live that. You no longer burn your passports, shred your driver's licenses. You're going to have to go get new ones. Your dollars don't matter anymore. We are spending. They're now called sparkles, and they're called spark bucks, and you snook them. So that's how you spend money now, and that's the entire economy is based on sparkles. And so good luck. And she's going to rule probably during the show that we have to be taken off air, and that it's illegal for us to do this broadcast. So it's been great, and we'll see you in the chat, I guess, before we get raided, right, by the Sparkle Brigade, because you'd be in jail, which is what they'll call themselves. That's right. The Sparkle Brigaders will come here and put us in the camps. And yeah, we look forward to the toboggan camps where we'll be forced to do hard labor building toboggans like her ancestors. Because this is now the mythos of America. This is none of it mattered. George Washington, the Revolutionary War, the foundation of Western civilization, Christendom. None of it matters anymore. We now live under the dictatorship of the Sparkle. So good luck, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll see you in the camps, I guess. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show, for as long as it lasts. Okay. Was that enough? All right. That's our first story of the day. We'll get there in just a second. We do have a killer show for you today. Senator Tommy Tuberville, Florida Attorney General James Uthmeier will be on, and so will John James, who's going to be the next governor of Michigan, and he just got the Trump endorsement last night, so it's awesome. My name is Benny Johnson. This is The Benny Show. Patriot Mobile, if you want your cell service to sparkle, you can join up with Patriot Mobile. They're our friends, and they're also just the greatest company that provides rock solid cell service and the best in class, also some of the best people. And they're constantly supporting to the tune of multi-millions of dollars every single year. Incredible organizations with incredible missions, and they support our show. And so we just love them. We use their products. They're the only Christian conservative wireless provider. Go to patriotmobile.com/Benny and call 972-PATRIOT. Use a promo code Benny. patriotmobile.com/Benny and call 972-PATRIOT today. Here we go. Judge Sparkle, who is a foreign-born judge, Sparkle Snookman, who's a foreign-born judge. Literally 0 people in this picture were named Sparkle Snookman, or Muhammad, for that matter, or really any Star Wars name. None of these people, none of them had anything to do with the founding of this country. And that's fine. I mean, I'm not saying that my ancestors are like German and like Scottish. And so it's not saying they go back to the very founding of the country. But they do have a lot of things in common with those who go back to the founding of the country. And if you look at the founding of the nation, there was a burning of passports. There was a burning of the ties that bound our nation to England. In fact, if you look at the original Declaration of Independence, which is a prayer, Alex, can you grab me the text of the Declaration of Independence? It says that in our new land, we are not going to be ruled by foreigners. That's what the text says. And they made rules about that. Like, for instance, our leaders will not be from foreign lands. They'll have to be born right ways, meaning born in America. That's what they said, not me. So racist. That's what they said. They said that you have to make declarations of faith. You want to talk about the Christian origins of this nation? 9 out of the 13 colonies said you must be a Bible-believing, Christ-professing Christian to serve in any office anywhere, including, of course, being a judge, and most importantly, being a judge. 55 of 56 of the founders, the Declaration of Independence, the writers and signers of this declaration, none of them were from Toboggan. All of them renounced their British citizenship. Teddy Roosevelt, of course, 100 years later, would claim there is no 50-50 Americans. There's only 100% Americans. And the 50-50 Americans we have to kick out of our country. You're not allowed to be a 50-50 American. We're not going to have the rule of the foreign in our land. Now, unfortunately, in the throes of the founding of this nation, the rules that were put upon our president, meaning you had to be born rightwise in the United States of America to rule over us as Americans, those rules were not applied to the rest of Congress, which is too bad. But, I mean, an enormous amount of the original senators and House members were actually born in foreign lands because there wasn't in America, really, they created it. So it's kind of hard, actually. Like a lot of them were either British born or weren't actually like native to the colonies. It would have been smart, though, to do in the preceding generations. And it would have been smart to make that ruling over the judiciary. Because what's happening right now, and here, let's just read this so we can move on and get to the news. We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America and generals in Congress assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions. Okay, just like very important here. This is why I say that this is a prayer and not a political or governing document. Appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world. Well, who's that? Well, everybody writing this document was Christian. So view it through their lens. Who is the Supreme Judge of the world in the Christian tradition? They're appealing to Christ. Revelation says that Christ will be the supreme judge of the world. Christ says that Christ will be the supreme judge of the world. God says that Christ will be the supreme judge. So they're praying to Jesus here. So in case you think that we were founded by a bunch of agnostics or deists. No. So they pray to Christ. Do by the name and authority of the good people of the colonies solemnly publish and declare that the United States colonies are of right and ought to be free and independent states, and they will be absolved of all allegiance to the British Crown and all political connections between them and the state of Great Britain, and that this ought to be totally dissolved. Free and independent states, they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and do all of the acts and things of which independent states may rightly do, and our support of the Declaration and the firm reliance upon the protections of the divine providence. There it is. In this same paragraph, there it is again, appealing to God, that we may pledge to each other our lives, our found fortunes, and sacred honor. And here are all the Christians, Bible-believing Christians that signed all this. Okay. Well, that's pretty clear what the country was intended to be. This country was intended to be a place that did not have foreigners rule over us, where we would rule ourselves. You can look at the original document that all these guys died for. And a lot of them did die for this. Fast forward to Sparkle, Snookman. This is a Sparkle Snookman, in case you're wondering. Sparkle Snookman is a foreign-born, literally just arrived here, has Indian parents, was born in Trinidad and Tobago, and came here and was immediately thrown on the bench by Joe Biden, thrown on a federal judgeship bench. 0 people voted for Sparkle. I know this is going to come as a shock to you. But no people voted for Sparkle Snookman. Nobody cast a ballot. 77 million people cast a ballot for Donald Trump in order to have a database that checked to see if you were an American citizen, if you were on the voter rolls. And that's what President Trump established. Well, he didn't establish it. He just fixed it. It's called the Save Voter Verification System. It's been around for a very long time, but it's never worked. And what it does is it matches your voter registration against your social security number, and then the government can tell if you are a criminal alien. Sparkle decided that all in all, the federal government has knowingly trampled on the privacy rights of the American citizens in a manner that threatens the sacred right to vote. This court cannot stand idly by while that happens. That's what Sparkle decided from her deep reservoir of what it means to be a heritage American patriot and what our nation is and how our nation was founded, and she shares absolutely nothing, actually, in the fabric of being an American or the foundational principles and heritage of our country. I think it's perfectly acceptable to say that. There's something that is an American. There are traditions and morals and codes that go with being an American. There's something that is it's not a made-up term. We are a people and a land founded, forged, and settled not by sparkle snookmans. And our founders clearly intended for us not to be ruled over and lorded over by foreigners. I said this in multiple reads yesterday as it comes to Islam, as it pertains to India or Islam or any other alien culture. I don't care about what you do in India. Indians are like, India's great. Okay, great. Like, live there. Muslims are like, we love Sharia. We love Islam. Okay, great. Sure. Do you, though? Because you don't want to live in an Islamic country. There are 50 of them. There are 50 Islamic countries that have a contiguous multi-million square mile radius around the globe, in fact. And they're all under Sharia law, and they all live under the Quran and Muhammad. And you can pick your flavor. I mean, there are dictatorships that are Muslim. There are republics that are Muslim. There are effectively colonies and collections of states. There are kingdoms. You can have your pick. You can just Baskin Robbins of Durka, right? Why choose the West? You already have that land, and that land works for you. Okay, great. Why come here? Why this place? And we all know why. Because for every single Sparkle Snookman that comes here, Judge Sparkle decrees that America belongs to any random alien on planet Earth, just like our founders intended, says Stephen Miller. For every Sparkle Snookman, who, by the way, spent 3,000 hours pro bono representing illegals against deportations and removal proceedings. She just blocked the U.S. government from making sure those illegals weren't on U.S. voter rolls. Activist cosplaying as a judge. Every single time somebody named Sparkle Snookman makes a ruling that vacates the will of 77 million Americans, all 7 swing states, the absolute total popular vote of our country, the most dominant political performance of a Republican in my lifetime or yours, in modern history, let's just say, since Nixon, I think. Every single time they do that, they erode not only the very governing foundations of this land, but also Christendom. Because that's what this land is based on. That's what our laws are based on, whether you like it or not. We have a Christian government. The founders focused entirely on Deuteronomy and the laws that God provided for the establishment of a righteous government. Equal justice under the law, that comes from Deuteronomy. Neither rich nor poor. That comes from the Old Testament. That's the separation of powers. It's all there. That's the foundation and actually the frictions in our society, the sparking and the instability in society is actually an immoral people trying to live under a moral system. It is a Sparkle Snookmans trying to exist inside of a moral system that our founders created, with one glaringly bitter caveat that I have, which is that the founders could have, I'm not saying I'm smarter than them, but if I had a time machine, I'd be like, just one more line that says you have to be a native-born American in order to hold a judgeship or be in Congress or serve in a federal capacity. Trust me, this is going to be a huge problem in the future. Pattern recognition. Import judge from Trinidad and Tobago as a teen. Elevate to federal judge. She spends her life as an immigration illegal alien activist. Now Biden appoints Sparkle Snookman. Blocks Trump from checking the non-citizens on the voter rolls. Import third world people, put them in power, watch your country resemble their homelands. Mass deportations now before the next 100 million illegals have a chance. Anchor babies, says Greg Bavino. Ladies and gentlemen, I love this. Judge Sparkle, born in Trinidad and Tobago to an Indian parents, has determined that Americans don't get to have secure elections. Here's what I love about Sparkle Snookman's ruling here. It's just great. I love this ruling, and I read it, and it's perfect. And there it is. It's like literally the name is right there. Sparkle Snookman, League of Women Voters versus Homeland Security. But here's the little disclaimer. I'm a trained professional. Don't try this at home, okay? Please don't try this at home. Try telling the federal government on your taxes that you don't need to pay taxes on the $600 your grandma gave you. Try pulling one over on the federal government when you're filing your taxes on like the smallest denomination and the smallest degree or percentage or decimal point, and you'll get your ass thrown in prison. Why? Try starting a illegitimate business or claiming an illegitimate benefit. You'll get your ass thrown in prison. Why? Try getting 2 driver's licenses in 2 different states. You'll get your ass thrown in prison. Why? Try buying crypto, selling it in an exchange that's end-to-end encrypted, and then telling the government that didn't happen. You get your ass thrown in prison. Why? Because the government already has these databases, because they already know what you're doing on your phone. All of these things are like spy tech anyway. They're designed and operated with backdoor systems created by our deep state. They not only know how many illegals there are here, they know every single motion and activity they ever take. They know every step they ever take. They know every little search they've ever done. In an incognito tab, they know every place they go for tacos. They already have all the information. They have all your information. They track your information every single day. Sparkle Snookman rules that this is somehow a violation of people's privacy that threatens the vote. Let's go ahead and look at the actual ruling, shall we? Do we have the text of the ruling? Here it is. Is it here? No, this is just Sparkle Snook. I just can't believe this is a real thing. Look at this. Oh, she serves under James Boasberg. Perfect. Perfect. Well, anyway, this is all I need. Yeah, okay. The ruling? Yeah. My goodness gracious. I mean, this is a liberal woman by, this is like an insufferable libtard by how long this ruling is, for heaven's sakes. I mean, for heaven's sakes. Goodness gracious. Page 75. So, yeah, I mean, I don't even know where to begin here, but I'll take a quote. I'll take a quote from where's the CNN? There we go. All in all, the federal government has knowingly trampled on the privacy rights of American citizens in a manner that threatens the sacred right to vote. So let's just take that sentence from this ruling, from Sparkle, from Foreigner. Sparkle. So what this does is it simply checks to see if you're an illegal voting in an American election, which of course is an illegal action. It's unlawful. The government checking your social security number against the voter rolls, the government checks your social security number against every transaction. If you're buying a house, if you're applying for a line of credit, if you're trying to get into the White House, you got to give them your social security number. If you're going to the DMV, the government checks your social security number probably 50 times a day in different transactions or capacities. If you're applying for welfare, if you're applying for a loan, if you're buying a large item, if you're buying a car, they need a background check on something. If your employer wants to run a background check, if you do a drug test, your social security number is checked against databases constantly by our federal government. But it's only this action that tramples those rights, none of those other ones. And then in a manner that threatens the sacred right to vote. Wait a second. Nobody here is denying any American born right-wise, born in this country that has a legitimate social security number. Nobody is denying them the right to vote. It's taking the right to vote away from criminal aliens like Sparkle. It is existential what is happening to this country. It's why in El Salvador, Nayib Bukele, who is running the tightest ship in the Western Hemisphere, says if you cannot impeach the judges and then imprison the judges, then they will simply protect the corrupt systems that put them in office. The judges will form a coalition and will never allow any reforms to take place or save your country. Napoleon says no man is a criminal or breaks any law who saves his nation. The remedy to this must be, I think, step one, punishing Sparkle Snookman, stripping her of her robes and her gowns, impeaching her. That would take some balls in Congress, but it can be done. Sending a message there, and then getting rid entirely of the federal judiciary in Washington, D.C. You have to get rid of that court system. There shouldn't be a D.C. court. The reason why they brought every January 6th case there, the reason why they brought every Trump case there is that D.C. court is the entire diseased temple is set up in order to protect the deep state and to protect entrenched establishment power. It is where you go to get a slam dunk. It is the bank for the deep state. And so it's where they bring every single case like these that they want, and they have jurisdiction because the federal government's there, and they want to be able to effectively usurp the will of the American people. And it should enrage you. It enrages me. The ruling is nonsensical, and they only care about checking of a social security database when it comes to determining who's voting in our election. Look at how hard they're protecting this. Look at how rabidly they're protecting this. We have Senator Tommy Tuberville here, ladies and gentlemen. So, final thought. They're not fighting that. You could use the same argument for FISA. You could use the same argument for probably dozens of Fourth Amendment violations, Third Amendment violations, daily that happen against your social security number and checks against government databases that spy on you. They're only doing this because President Trump wants to clean up the voter rolls. It tells you everything. How do you know something's infected? You press on it, it hurts. Ow! The reaction. Someone sets your house on fire. You only have a minute to get out alive. What are you going to do? You're going to naturally run. You're going to naturally run to grab the priceless heirloom, your child sleeping in their bed, whatever is like the most precious and the most important for you. You're going to, in a panic, you're going to sprint there and like rabidly protect it. That's what this is. That's what this is. And you can see every single step of the way, the Democrats have rabidly protected the operation of bringing 100 million criminal aliens into this country and then keeping them here. And this has been the only goal of this federal bench in D.C. is to overrule the president to keep as many criminal aliens here and voting and on welfare as they possibly can. That's every single ruling. So ask yourself, why? How much of a sacred cow is that to Sparkle? It is. That's it. That's the ball game. If we get our mass deportations, if we get our country back, if we get control of immigration, then they have no other way to collapse the West. They're losing cultural power. They've lost political power. They've lost financial power. They've lost institutional power. This is it. This is the final. This is the Hail Mary for them. And so they're protecting it with everything that they got. They're using Sparkle to do it. Let me bring on a man who sparkles every single time he's on the show. Hope he doesn't drop off because I said that. Because we love Senator Tommy Tuberville. He's going to be the next governor of the great state of Alabama. I'm sure he has some thoughts on all of this. Senator Tommy Tuberville joining us live right now. Senator, welcome back to the program. An exciting day. We learned today that we no longer live in the United States of America. We live under the dictatorship of Sparkle Snookman, who, without a single vote cast or a single shot fired, has totally overtaken the entire whole of our federal government and executive branch with her rulings. And so quite a time, quite an exciting time.
You're exactly right, Benny. Since I've been here for 6 years in the Senate, it's easy to tell that we're not relevant anymore, Congress or the House. Now, we can spend some money. We can do those kind of things. But the group that runs this country is these leftist judiciary people that I don't know how they got on the bench. Well, actually, I do know how they got on there, but I don't know why they were put on there, because they don't protect the Constitution. We all know that. They're going after the executive branch as hard as they can. And you're right on the money. They want to destroy this country by the way of not changing any laws, just bringing in people that are not citizens and letting them vote. And we see it every day. Joe Biden and Barack Obama did just tons of damage to this country. President Trump's trying to straighten it out, but in 50 years, we couldn't straighten this out. We have to have some help from the judiciary. They cannot continue to protect these people every which way they're trying to do it, but they're just trying to run out the clock. And it's just unfortunate. The American people across the country have to wake up. They have to wake up this November. They have to go out and vote. They have to go out and vote the right way, because we know illegals are going to vote. And it's just unfortunate we're in this situation, but I don't know how we stop it. President Trump's trying, but he takes 2 steps forward and 1 step back. And it's just, I hate it to see it for this country. My dad died for this country, and he has his name on the World War II memorial down by the reflection pool. And I can imagine if he were here today, what he would be thinking about what's going on here, not just in Washington, D.C., but all across the country.
I think you bring up an absolutely great point, and I think this is really the ultimate question that's being raised in the West, which is, do we live in a republic or a democracy or anything? Because we keep demanding a right to speak out against third world invasions of our lands, and nobody listens to us, no matter how many times we put in office people that say they're going to reverse this trend. We keep getting it. And so it's like an agenda that has been decided, and it's going to happen no matter what. And everything is just a facsimile of the other side and the same side. And so we always get the same thing. Nothing ever happens. Your father didn't die, and millions of young patriotic men that decimated, of course, the whole of Europe and decimated Western civilization. They died in order to keep the barbarians from coming into their homes and their homelands and raping and pillaging their way through their homelands. But now they've been invited through the front door. And you're exactly right. I mean, every single time a World War II veteran gets a camera in front of them, they say, we didn't fight for this. We didn't fight for our homelands to become like this, to be ruled over by a Sparkle Snookman from Trinidad and Tobago. I mean, am I right? Like, your father would be repulsed.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. And it just goes back to just opening the borders, but taking advantage of what Barack Obama did back during the Middle Eastern wars, where he just brought in just thousands and thousands of people from either Africa or the Middle East and brought them in here, and they were not vetted at all. They took them to certain cities, as we all know, one being Minneapolis. They've taken control there. And then Joe Biden turned around, and that was obviously Barack Obama's third term, and they just opened the floodgates. And Mayorkas, Secretary Mayorkas, Homeland Security, lied to us every day about, the border's closed. And it's all a plan of theirs. And we're not stepping up here. Now, it's hard to do any more than what President Trump are doing now. They've got it closed down. I'm talking to the border. They're deporting people. But the problem now is we've got to find some way to keep these people from electing, from school boards all the way up to presidents of the United States. And even, going back to the judges and things that are voted on the local level. We have a huge problem. And again, tomorrow President Trump will come over, and I know he'll have a game plan. He's going to talk to 52 senators with Mitch McConnell out. He's not able to come over. So 52 senators. Now, I know President Trump will have a plan, but I think tomorrow will be our last ditch effort to get the Save America Act passed. And I want to hear from the ones that's voting against it. Why are you voting against 49 other people in the Republican Party? Why are you voting against 80 to 90% of the people across the country, Democrat and Republican, that want voter ID and being a citizen of this country to vote? Why are we against that? Because if that is the one thing, if we don't pass, 20 to 25 states already are crooked as hell. I mean, they're going to stack the deck. Look at California. They're not going to allow Republicans to win. And if we continue down this path, it will be over as we know it. We will lose our country as we know it.
A couple of follow-ups there. One, would you be in favor of a policy, maybe a constitutional amendment, it'd probably have to be, that says you have to be an American and you have to be born in America to serve as a judge and to rule over us and to judge over us? I think it's like Sparkle Snookman just got here like last year, and suddenly she's like vacating the will of 77 million Americans. And that seems wrong. It seems immoral, actually, to me. It seems like the opposite. We just read the Declaration of Independence. It's like the opposite of what anyone intended to have happen. And they put rules on the president, actually, in order to ensure that we weren't ruled by a foreigner, but we were being ruled by foreigners, whether it's Ilhan Omar or Sparkle Snookman.
Well, it shows you how things we've got turned around. The president of the United States has to be a natural born citizen of this country, but they have to take orders from these people from third world countries that are coming in being elected to the judiciary. It makes no sense whatsoever. Again, we've lost our mind. And, we've got so many people now in this country that are not Americans that get to make those decisions, unfortunately, because they have the right. They don't have the right, but they are voting. And so it's putting us in harm's way. There's no other way to put it. And again, the Save America Act is the most important piece of legislation since I've been here for 6 years. And again, it's only because it's not like 10, 15 years ago. It's only because you've had communist socialist presidents like Biden and Obama allow people to come here to vote. And there has to be some rules about that. And nobody up here, there's not a majority up here that can put an answer to that. I've got an answer to it. Vote the Save America Act. But again, we've got 49 votes. We need 60. Democrats aren't going to vote for it. They've got the ball in their court. They're going to keep it away from us if President Trump's out, and they're going to run this country in the ground as fast as they possibly can because they love power.
So what would be the Hail Mary here? What would be some type of like grand bargain with Murkowski or Collins? I think that it sounded like during the procedural votes that you were able to maybe like scrape by 50. So then if you got rid of the filibuster, you could potentially pass it. You could attach it, right, to one of these must pass bills, FISA or whatever.
Yeah. But I think at the end of the day, what's going to have to happen is we used to debate up here. We used to go on the floor and spend hours and hours of debating. Mike Lee has got the answer to it. People don't want to stay up here that long and debate. Just go to the floor, start the debate on the Save America Act. and debate for weeks and weeks at a time to wait till the Democrats aren't here, and then you vote it in. Bottom line, that's the talking filibuster. And they used to do that all the time, Benny, but this is not a working Senate anymore. We work 3 days a week and then we go home. And people take these lavish coattails and go all over the world and spend a lot of money. It's not about doing what's right for our country anymore. And we've got a lot of good people up here. Don't get me wrong, but there has to be. We don't play to win. We just play up here to survive, and that's got us in so much trouble. Surviving means, hey, maybe we can keep the majority, maybe we can keep the floor, have committee chairman, but what good does that do us? We've got to be able to pass different type of legislation, stronger legislation, because how crazy these people have gotten on the left. This is not your mother and father's 1960 Democrat Party. It's gone. There's no more Democrats, and they've all gone as far left. And even the ones that say they're Democrats, they're just followers anyway. They're only harmful when they vote with the left.
None of these rulings from Sparkle would matter if we had the Save America Act, because if that was actually the law of the land,
right, then
they'd be helpless in doing this. I mean, it does seem obscene that you can't check the ruling. We just read the ruling. So wait a second. The government does illegal spying on us constantly, every second of the day. But checking the voter rolls to see if there's a bunch of illegals on there with social security numbers that the government gives you and maintains, that's a bridge too far. I mean, the ruling's absurd, Senator. What do you make of it?
Oh, yeah. Well, you hit it right on the nose there. But Benny, the problem is, and my people back in Alabama, there's every day I'll hear some coach, why should I vote? We only had 20% of the people vote in the primary this year in Alabama, a very red state. But they all say, why should I vote when it comes to a general election? Because when I vote, you're going to have 4 or 5 people that are non-citizens that are going to vote. We don't stand up for the people that pay the taxes in this country, that do things right, that believe in this country and the Constitution. And it's going to get far less people because it's now starting to move into the South. The South is our last stand because we've lost all the Northeast cities, all the blue cities, the blue mayors, the blue governors. People have absolutely lost their mind all the way out in California, the Northwest, Tennessee, Mississippi, Georgia, Alabama, Florida, the very southern states. We're going to fight back and we're going to fight to the end. But we got to have something to fight with because we're getting overrun by this nonsense of doing away with all the rights of the American people and giving the rights to the illegals.
How, as governor of Alabama, will you fix this for the state of Alabama? How will you ensure that you can have the SAVE Act in Alabama, at least? Every Republican state could enact the SAVE Act. The state of the Attorney General of the state of Florida is joining us in just a minute. I mean, we have the SAVE Act on steroids in this state.
And we do the same thing in Alabama. I'm not big on voting machines, but again, when you look at this, number one, I think a big push, instead of spending hundreds of millions of dollars on these senators or congressmen that at the end of the day are not going to vote Republican, that are going to vote on the other side, let's quit spending money on these people and spend money on entertaining the fact that the people across the country, if you believe in the Constitution, you got to go vote. We got to get people out to vote. We are losing more and more people because they don't think their vote counts. And so in our state, we're going to work very hard. We've cleaned up our voting rolls. We've got the dead people off. We make sure that you're legal. You have to have a voter ID in the state of Alabama. And that's the reason that we feel good about our elections. Florida's the same way, Tennessee's the same way. But again, you get to 20 or 25 of the states that could care less about our Constitution. Anybody can vote, and they can vote as many times they want. They can mail in ballots. It's out of control.
Would you be fighting to impeach the judge if a judge ruled like this in Alabama?
Oh, 100%. I mean, we've got judges in the state that are Democrats that actually go by the law. Most of them. Now, I'll probably still have a little bit different feel because when I get to be governor of the state of Alabama, they're going to come after me because I am going to be straight up constitutionalist. We're going to go by the rule of law, And if we have judges that are going to go against the Constitution, we're going to go after them. And you got to have a good attorney general. You got to fight back from day one. You got to put pressure back on them. You can't give in to them. And that's the reason I just love President Trump. I mean, they'll go after him. He doesn't care. They told him he can't build that banquet hall over there. Well, they're still working on it. And, you know, you cannot listen to these people that hate this country. And again, we're going to be fighting in the streets if we don't get some kind of control over the situation at this point. If it continues to get out of hand, you know, in the South, you know, in Florida and Georgia and Alabama, Tennessee, Mississippi, we're not going to put up with that nonsense. And the great Americans are going to fight back.
Last question here very quickly. I mean, is that your advice to Trump? Just like bulldoze this and just like not care, just like continue?
We voted him as the chief executive of this country, almost 80 million people. Go get it done, because they're not going to listen. They're going to slow you down at every turn. He's only got 2.5 years left. And, you know, he's trying to do what's right to make sure that we'll win the House. I'm very scared about the Senate. But at the end of the day, his last 2 years, they're going to go after him from the left. But that's the reason people love him. He is going to do what makes America great again. He's going to be American first all the way.
It's amazing how Mitch McConnell destroyed your guys' capacity to win the Senate. You guys would win 5 seats. Republicans would win 5 seats in the Senate if Mitch McConnell had been on board with the Save America Act and hadn't led a little revolt because of his petty bitterness against Donald Trump.
Well, those few, I'll tell you, Benny, they believe, and Mitch McConnell's one, they believe in the tradition of the Senate. This is the way we've done it. But we haven't done it that way forever. Plus, this is not the same country we had just 10, 15 years ago. Our country has changed. These illegals are going to change it no matter whether you like it or not. So we have got to put protections up. That's our job. That's our job as lawmakers up here, to protect this country. And we're not doing it because of a so-called tradition. Tradition's out the gate. We have to protect the people and citizens of this country. If we don't, we're going to lose it. You know that. We're going to lose it. It might be 2 years, might be 5 years, might be 10 years, but they're just sitting back waiting to take this country over. And when they do, we'll never get it back.
We're thankful for you, Coach. We're thankful for you fighting constantly for this nation, for going and serving in what I believe to be much higher and more important office, if I may be so bold, because state leadership matters so much, and there's so much more you can do on a state level and even a local level and a municipal level to properly affect the betterment of your community and where you live. And so running for governor of Alabama, you're looking at him right here, the next governor of the great state of Alabama, Tommy Tuberville. Go follow the coach right now. He's got hundreds of thousands of followers on social media. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, Benny. God bless.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Attorney General of the state of Florida, James Uthmeier, is locked and loaded and ready to go. And we're just going to go right over to him right now. Welcome, James, to the show. Mr. Attorney General, thank you so much for being on the program. I'm very glad that I live in Florida and not under the dictatorial rule of Sparkle Snookman.
Yeah, Benny, thank you for calling into question these judicial abuses. We see it across the country. It's wrong. And I'll remind people at home, you know, Alexander Hamilton wrote in the Federalist Papers, the power, the authority of judges are really only as good as the deference given to their orders by the other branches and the people. When judges abuse their power, when they exceed their authority, we should reject those opinions. And I'm glad to hear you talk about impeachment and removing these judges. We don't see enough of it. Here in Florida, we have judges that let pedophiles go free. They, you know, rape and murder others, and then they're still on the bench. We've got to start impeaching these judges and making them live up to their oath.
I live in Tampa, and not long after I moved here, there was a district attorney. It was a George Soros appointed district attorney, and your boss, Ron DeSantis, ripped that guy the hell out of office and then destroyed his career and dragged him publicly for defying Florida law. And it seems like that's precisely the remedy that needs to happen right now with the federal judiciary. What do you think?
I totally agree. People take an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution, the rule of law. And when they don't want to do that, they should get a new job. The role of a judge is not to push radical politics and ideologies. The role of a judge is to enforce the law. Same with our prosecutors. They're supposed to put criminals away, prosecute, bring a case, do your job. If you don't want to do that here in Florida, we'll hand you a brown paper box and we'll find you a new job.
Yeah, or maybe a brown paper bag to put over your head, which would be great for Sparkle. Can you talk me through this? Because we've talked offline, and you've been Trump's lawyer. You've worked at the highest levels of law and in the judicial system and the jurisprudence that you practiced. And you're young, right? So it's like people maybe don't understand this, but you have the highest possible legal pedigree. And so you know these things a lot better than I do, right? I have the grok version of everything. But I can't quite square how the founders would say our chief executive must be a natural-born, native-born American citizen and can't be anything else. And yet that man has to live under the tyranny of a bunch of foreigners in black robes that came here yesterday off a boat from Trinidad and Tobago, and that they actually can rule over that native-born, natural-born American who's got 80 million votes. I can't square it, Mr. Attorney General. Can you help me understand this?
I tell you, it certainly seems wrong here. You see it in the judiciary. You see it, members of Congress, crying foul about our country, embarrassed about what we stand for, trying to thwart the efforts of our commander-in-chief. They ought to just go back where they came from. It's wrong. It needs to be stopped. I would love to see our legislative bodies in D.C. as well as at the state level step up, fight back, and do the right thing.
What would that look like on a state level? I mean, I suppose you could pass, not from the federal bench, but I guess you could pass that you have to be in the country for a couple of years before you start ruling over us. In what way is this not defined as rule of how is this not defined as colonialism, being colonized, rule by some?
Yeah, state by state level. I mean, you're not going to be able to impose requirements that go beyond constitutions. So states may have to look at amending constitutions, but it most certainly seems fundamentally wrong. And where you have judges, again, not following the law, exceeding their authority, telling the president, the commander-in-chief, he doesn't have the authority to take terrorists, to remove them from our country. These orders are wrong. They do not need to be followed, and we need people who are willing to fight back. People might be held in contempt. There might be some political tools at our disposal to cut salaries, turn off the lights. The founders created the separation of powers, so our congressional bodies controlled the purse. They can hold the judges accountable through many other ways. Unfortunately, that just hasn't happened in modern history.
What would be your advice? You've advised the president, obviously, on a number of personal and legal issues. What would be your advice to Donald Trump right here when it comes to this Sparkle ruling?
Well, my advice, number one, would be let's get Congress together and let's think about how to really inflict some pain on the judiciary that doesn't follow the law. Let's look at salaries. Let's look at resources. Let's look at office space. Let's figure out how we can inflict some blows, and where there are rulings that are not based on legal authority, certainly take every action to disregard them, appeal them, and fight them.
Do you believe that the federal judiciary should exist? I mean, this seems to be the punishment court, the bank court for the deep state, and every single January 6th op was brought in that federal judiciary. Should D.C., given the fact that it's not a state, should they even have a federal judiciary branch there?
Well, I think the federal judiciary is pretty defined in the Constitution. We certainly can limit the number of judges.
The D.C. district is all I'm asking.
Limit
Sorry.
Authority. Oh, I think the D.C. district.
The D.C. Circuit. Sorry for my inaccurate language. The D.C. Circuit Court itself. Sorry.
I don't think it should exist. I think we need to rein the number of courts in, the number of judges in. We've got to have a Supreme Court justice, certainly, but the left has been trying to pack and find ways to create these venues where they want to bring all the cases to thwart what the president's doing. They venue shop up and down the country, and they find these single judge venues out in California where somebody wants to create an injunction that binds the entire country. This is wrong, and it shouldn't be tolerated. The judiciary has become essentially the most powerful branch in our country, and it's our leaders and the people that have allowed that to happen. And it's why here in Florida, we're fighting back. We're calling for impeachments of judges. We're going to look at ways to bring the judiciary back into the role and authority that the founders wanted.
So you're doing that in an issue that I think is a bit niche, but something that is critically important to our community. You just made a big announcement on the 7.0 products, and this is a big time hazard. It's like legal drugs that can be sold at gas stations. I think, didn't you just have a judge come over the top and say, no, we have to legalize the drugs for the teenagers at gas stations? Can you explain this?
Yeah, we just imposed a new emergency rule. It expands and goes further than one we issued about a year ago. You've got now this essentially gas station morphine. There's a plant from Asia called Kratom. These businesses will extract 7-OH, which naturally metabolizes in very, very small quantities. They will make it highly concentrated and create essentially synthetic chemical morphine. It acts like an opiate. It's over 13 times more powerful than morphine. And you can find it in gas stations. And people are making so much money off of it that it's proliferated all over the state. So we've shut that down. It's now illegal to sell it. As they've tried to blend it with other chemical components and get around our rules, we've stepped in to broaden the prohibition, increase penalties, and we will hold people accountable. It's been great. Other states have reached out. We've got 6, 7 other states now doing the same thing. We've got to protect our kids. We can't let people choose profit over public safety. I don't think the government should get in the way of business activities unless it's an emergency. And here, where kids think they're taking some herbal supplement and end up taking something more powerful than morphine, we've got to step up and fight back.
Our studio technician and producer is talking about the kratom bars and how they'd like turn people into zombie hordes, like just wandering around the gas stations in the Tampa, St. Pete area where we live. And I know a place that you care about a lot is how awful it was. So I'm like really glad that you're cracking down on that. It's insane, the loopholes that they find. Anything to keep us from looking like California, please, Mr. Attorney General.
And they'll always try to find an angle. A lot of these new vape products are not regulated. They're coming from China. Obviously, we've seen the dangers of fentanyl coming from China. It's a new warfare. They want to take out our young next generations. We're not going to be able to compete with our enemies if everybody's walking around high like a zombie. So I think as leaders, we've got to step up and make sure we're shutting down people that just want to make too much money at the expense of our kids. We're doing that with drugs. We're doing it with social media applications. We're doing it where AI is unnecessarily exposing young people to harm, advising them how to kill themselves, how to commit murder, school shootings. It's pretty horrific, some of what we've seen. And, look, we're not against technology. We want to compete with the rest of the world. We don't stifle innovation in Florida. But where these companies are better at managing and processing data than anybody in the world, they certainly can step in and create some parameters that protect our little ones.
So I wouldn't be an interview on my program if I didn't ask some question where you get to dunk on California. So the California elections have been egregious and humiliating and have enraged everyone. And a thorough look at it effectively is them using their homeless crisis and their criminal alien crisis in order to just rig elections. And it's like obvious, it's plain, everybody can see it. First off, like, what is the remedy there? Why does it work so well in Florida? Florida is the #1 landing spot for the vast majority of California refugees, right? Like every rich person that used to live in California now lives in Florida, including like the guy who runs Starbucks and the people who run Google, right? Like the Google founders all live here. Mark Zuckerberg and everyone's like now lives in Florida.
Something's working here, yeah, absolutely.
Right, they're escaping that. So how do you non-California or Florida?
Well, number one, it has to start at the ballot box. It's sacred. That's how we decide the future leaders, the direction of our country. And if you don't have security at the ballot box, then people they don't have faith and confidence in the elections. There is no legitimacy to the institutions. So that has to be fixed. In Florida, we were the laughing stock of the world in 2000 with election issues. Our leaders took it seriously. The SAVE Act was largely Florida law. We went above and beyond this last session with heightened security measures. We created the first election fraud police force in the country. We go out and arrest people when they vote more than once or where they're engaged in ballot harvesting and other election fraud crimes. We've prosecuted over 60 cases. We put people behind bars if they engage in election fraud because it is that important. When it comes to other things in Florida, we push common sense. We want to make it the safest state in the country. We're at record crime lows, and it's not a surprise. My office had 50% more statewide prosecutions year over year this past year. We're prosecuting and convicting more people in history, and our crime rate keeps going down. I mentioned fentanyl. That was the greatest danger facing the country on a public safety front when I took office. In just a year and a half, thanks to President Trump shutting down the border and our law enforcement officers taking down bad guys and prosecuting them for long sentences, fentanyl cases are down over 70% in just a year and a half. Fentanyl deaths down almost 50%. Double-digit crime decreases across the state of Florida. This isn't partisan. It's not Republican. It shouldn't be anyway. It's common sense, and I think everybody wants it, and that's why you see people voting with their feet and coming down here to Florida. I just ask they do not turn us into the states from which they're fleeing or they're going to have a problem with me.
Last very quick follow-up question to that answer, which is I was just in Texas emceeing the Texas State Republican Convention, and I got to speak with their governor and I got to speak with their attorney general and a bunch of other, and they were bragging to me and it made me angry. And I was bitter and I wanted to ask you about this. They're like bragging to me about their new law, SB 4, that allows them to deport their own illegals back home. They don't have to wait for the federal government. And this is now law. They won their appeal. And so why can't we have that? Like, aren't we better than Texas? Like, can't we, why do they get to have nice things and we can't have nice things?
Yeah, we've passed a lot of laws that are currently enjoined. Again, talking about these judges that abuse their power. We created our own state criminal violation for being in the state illegally. It has been enjoined. It's up on appeal. I'll fight it all the way up to the Supreme Court. Most of the judges in our country have said that when it comes to immigration enforcement, states are completely preempted. It is a federal prerogative. I think this is wrong. If you've got a federal government like the Biden administration that wants to derelict its duty, wants to open the border, doesn't want to enforce laws that are very validly on the books, a state must have the right to protect itself, to protect its borders and its own sovereignty. So we'll keep pushing. Look, we compete with Texas every day. I always joke, their AG's office lately has been doing everything we do a week later. But we love those guys. We love working with them. It's a friendly rivalry. And we're going to keep pushing the envelope everywhere we can.
Thank you. Again, the Attorney General of Texas is Ken Paxton. You know him well on this program. The Attorney General of Florida, you must know well as well, James Uthmeier, who I guess gets his homework copied by Ken Paxton. Didn't know that, Mr. Attorney General.
No, they beat us sometimes. I got to be fair. No, he's been a strong fighter. He's doing a good job.
We'll needle him next time he's on the show. Please follow the Attorney General. He has 70,000 followers here on his official account. Get in there and, hey man, move to Florida. This is the leadership we got here in the state. You want to feel rock solid. This is the leadership that Disney surrendered to. Okay. You understand how good we have it here? Disney surrendered to this guy. Okay. And is now, well, the happiest place on earth, like because all the predators are out of the parks. So thank you, Mr. Attorney General.
We love the free state of Florida. Thanks, Benny. Always a pleasure.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have John James. He is the next governor of Michigan. We're excited about it. He's locked and loaded. He just fresh off of the Donald Trump golden endorsement. Donald Trump endorsement has never meant more and never been more powerful. If you want a golden future, invest with Advantage Gold. Invest in something that is real, something that withstands the test of time, and something that certainly is worth more than the paper, potentially, or just the digital ones and zeros in your bank account. All wealthy and successful families invest in physical assets, land, paintings. I can't afford any of those things, but you can afford gold, and you can buy gold today. Nation states are doing it. Billionaires are doing it. I trust Advantage Gold. They're the top-rated precious metals company. Text Benny to 85545 right now. That's BENNY to 85545 right now. No cost, no obligation, and no pressure. Check your allocation and get help taking control with Advantage Gold. Ladies and gentlemen, the man with the golden ticket and endorsement to be the next governor of the state of Michigan, John James, joins us live now. Welcome back to the program. What an exciting time and very interesting time for the Midwest. It seems like there's a lot of people that are like, what? The Bears are leaving Chicago? Like, this is like how collapsed have things how collapsed have things become? We can't let these guys have an inch. And maybe we need to restore like the Midwest values. And that's where John James comes in with the brand new Trump endorsement. Congratulations, John.
Thanks so much. Appreciate you having me back on. Really excited for what the future holds for the state of Michigan and for our great republic.
Okay, just real quickly, like the Bears are leaving Chicago?
No, the Bears are being forced out of Chicago because of terrible policies in Illinois, just like the population of the state of Michigan is being forced out by the failed Marxist policies of Gretchen and Whitmer.
Yes.
You just have the attorney general on in Florida. It takes common sense. It takes consequences to get back on track. We don't have to imagine what right looks like. We just have to remember, get back to the fundamentals, get back to the basics. And I'm excited to bring my combat military experience, my business experience, and my support of President Trump to bear to make Michigan great again.
President Trump talked about that yesterday in his endorsement of you. How did that go? Did you call him on the phone?
No, the president called me. President has been in my corner for the better part of a decade, and I've been in his. The president and I have been through many battles before, and we're going to come back out on top. Michigan is a state that has been failed by the leftist liberal extremists who believe that men can become women. We cannot. They believe that open borders are compassionate. They are not. They believe that letting criminals back on our street to terrorize our people and to leave our law enforcement demoralized is the right answer. It is not. We're going to get back to common sense and consequences. Faith in family, God and country, service before self is what Michigan is calling for, is what Michigan deserves, and is what I'm going to bring.
It seems like Michigan could potentially go through a renaissance. It was amazing. We were in Detroit not too long ago, and I kind of bought into the lie that like everything is collapsing there. And actually, it seems like sturdy Michigan and Michigander steel and might and build and renaissance is happening in that city. And everyone who goes to Detroit is like says the same thing, that like the infrastructure is so rich in Michigan and could really be something incredible again if you guys got better leadership. How are you going to revitalize manufacturing in your state?
Yeah, when you venture outside of the city of Detroit and go to the neighborhoods where people have been suffering under Democrat regimes, not just for the past 7, but for the better part of the past 70 years of failed Democrat leadership that have left Michiganders and disproportionately African Americans behind. You can look no farther than your closest inner city to see where Democrat lies have cratered the populations, the families of people who desperately need hope. And so we are going to come in there. We're going to do what Republicans have always done. The Republican Party is a party of emancipation. But when we march down to the South to free men from bondage and hold this republic together under Lincoln's regime, we can do the same thing now under President Trump and my leadership in the state of Michigan, to march into some of these inner cities, to march into some of these rural areas and bring a message of hope and a message of prosperity, being able to focus on the fundamentals and things that actually work, focusing on schools and economic opportunity, focusing on public safety and restoring government trust, and doing things that it takes to make sure that we can bring renewed prosperity, to save men from bondage in our time, in our area, and make sure that we restore our republic now. The lie that Marxism wins, that socialism wins, has begun to take hold because Republicans aren't standing up as courageous conservatives to make sure we take that message of good news as what's possible forward to young people and folks who haven't heard it. I'm excited to take this good news to every corner of the state of Michigan. We can once again have a state where we can revitalize, reclaim, and restore our destiny.
You know, Congressman, there's like a, we were just talking about it with Tommy Tuberville. People don't trust when they see their election systems get broken and they see fraud, open fraud. People tend to get demoralized. And we've been following the election fraud that's been going on in Hamtramck and how this majority Muslim township which I think is the first in the country that is a majority Muslim and led entirely by Muslims, how every single member of the city council is now under investigation for voter fraud. And it's not even alleged. It's all on camera. Like they just set up a camera and caught them doing it, like stuffing the ballot boxes. How are you going to end that? How are you going to fix that?
Well, they're brazen here. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to beat Johnson Benson. And we're going to take a page out of the president's book. We're going to make it too big to rig. We're going to swamp the vote. We're going to make sure we get every conservative, every Republican out there who will fight for our public out to the ballot box. Because this is it, guys. This is for all the marbles. This is our Alamo. This is our time. Jocelyn Benson right now is our current Secretary of State. She's literally running for governor the same election that she's presiding over. This is the same woman who lied to us and said that we had the safest and most secure election. We know in 2020, she rigged and manipulated the election process to defeat me and President Trump. Well, it's not going to work. Right now, we've already identified at least 14 illegals who voted in our election and hundreds who are on jury duty roles just in one county. By making sure that we hold the government accountable and doing things like Florida is doing with having a police force that actually goes after these fraudsters. These are the types of things that will restore trust in our elections, restore trust in our government that has woefully been squandered in the state of Michigan. We haven't forgotten about COVID. I have a clear initiative that's going to bring restitution to folks in the state of Michigan who are totally screwed by Gretchen Whitmer and Jocelyn Benson and their terrible COVID initiatives. We are not going back. We will restore the rights to the people where they belong, and we are going to earn the trust back of Michiganders. But in the meantime, we need to swamp the vote, we need to make our voice heard, and we need to make sure that nobody can take our rights away now or in the future in Michigan.
Yeah, exactly. I'm so glad that you brought that up. Maybe that's like a good question for, concluding the interview, which is, what's the remedy here? Steve Hilton's on constantly talking about how you have to investigate the fraud in California in order for it to stop. And there's been fraud in Michigan. I mean, I think it's a human rights violation what your governor did while she was out at her lake house, right? Yeah. Well, isn't that the story? Her and her husband were out boating and fishing and having a great time, like while she locked down the rest of the state and destroyed everyone's business, destroyed everyone's lives.
The solution is consequences, right to jail, right away. We're not just going to be investigating. We're going to be bringing about consequences and convictions for those who are found guilty. We're going to make sure that we restore the faith and trust in government, and we are going to push the power and the resources back to the people where it belongs. Our rights are endowed to us by our Creator. They must be guaranteed by the government. Local control is an extension of our rights, and so making sure that people can trust their elections in this republic that uses the democratic process to elect our leaders, we will be restoring faith by making sure that we are transparent, we are ethical, and we hold those who've broken our trust accountable to the fullest extent of the law.
I mean, that would be very refreshing for the state of Michigan. There's so many good things going on in your state. It's such a beautiful state. It's so evil what's happened. Actually, when you see the architecture throughout Detroit, it's like one of the most beautiful cities ever built.
Yeah.
And for it to just be left to rot and smolder it's a crime. I mean, it's a crime against art. It's a crime against our forefathers who built this place, and we should maintain it. So, John James, everybody needs to vote for John James. Obviously, he's the man. He's Trump endorsed, and he's going to do it. Anything that we can do to help, John, let us know. Follow John James right here. He's got hundreds of thousands of followers. He's got 250,000 followers and a rising star in the Republican Party. Godspeed, sir.
Thank you. God bless.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, exciting little round of interviews there. That was efficient, ALX. That was fun, right? Okay. Efficient and fun could be you if you used Rumble Wallet. It's an efficient way to tip your favorite creators, an efficient way to engage in commerce on the World Wide Web that makes for faster payments, more control, fewer middlemen. It's where things are going, ladies and gentlemen, and it's easier than you think. Rumble is pioneering new and very constitutional technologies that protect free speech and protect your privacy. With Rumble Wallet, you can buy Bitcoin, hold dollar-backed stablecoins, own digital gold, backed by real gold, all in one place. Set up is simple. Just go ahead and scan the QR code right there, and you can click the link in the description if you'd prefer to do that. Download Rumble Wallet today. You can set it up. Just tap buy and you're in the game. Take control of your money and get started with Rumble Wallet today. All right, ladies and gentlemen, very interesting. Deep state purge going on inside. This is in the title, so I feel like I have to cover it. Deep state purge going on at DNI, Tulsi Gabbard's old office. Trump's new spy chief seeks to fire hundreds inside of the national intelligence apparatus, which oversees the spy agencies of America. Bill Pulte, somebody that we know well on this show, kicked off a deep state purge. Hundreds of jobs are on the line. Pulte arrived at his new role early on Thursday and wasted no time as a temporary director is looking to cut hundreds of jobs in the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. Sources told CNN that his very first day on the job, Pulte asked for a list of every single current employee in the office and then moved. The move will see the acting director access whether they should be fired or not, the outlet reported. The deep state firings have begun, one source told the outlet. Let's go ahead and watch.
The acting director of national intelligence had promised to make hundreds of cuts, and this morning sources tell us those firings are now underway. Now, it is not clear how many jobs are going to be affected, but sources say the National Counterterrorism Center is likely to be hit hard. Pulte, who just took over the role last week, today's actually his second full day on the job, is a Trump loyalist with zero intelligence experience. But the president has made clear he wants him to slash jobs at the agency, and Trump says he thinks Pulte is actually better able to make these cuts because he's in the role temporarily. Trump saying he's less shackled to do this. Now, Democrats and many Republicans have strongly opposed Pulte being in this role, even for the short term, and they've tried to prevent this. All of this and these cuts are sure to be a topic of conversation when the president meets tomorrow with Senate Republicans, Michael.
Senate Republicans. Hey, Alex, I want the poly market on the 2028 presidential cycle. Who's leading? Because there's been a lot of fake news out there that what Trump's doing is horribly unpopular, that J.D. Vance has destroyed his career, and that there's no hope. And there's actually enormous amounts of hope. J.D. Vance is leading by a wide margin, actually. The only person that seems to be nipping at his heels would be Gavin Newsom, who's now under multiple federal investigations. There is, however, a name that's in the mix, and it's Tucker Carlson. And I try and stay out of the drama, but Tucker Carlson announced that he's leaving the Republican Party yesterday. Okay. So we got Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance. You see J.D. Vance popping up there. J.D. Vance was sort of like they were all muddled in the middle. J.D. Vance has actually skyrocketed. Here's the GOP markets. Tucker Carlson's in there, and I just want to say this because this is my career, this is my profession, and we did a read on this last night. And you can see there the yellow, the light yellow is Tucker Carlson polling out like 7%. Is he going to run for president? I don't know. My instinct is that yes, that he's going to run for president. My instinct is that Tucker may well try and form a third party with Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie and I don't know, maybe some Democrats, disaffected or not. You already have Ilhan Omar talking about joining forces with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Marjorie Taylor Greene, of course, posed with somebody who's under investigation for terrorism in her office, the Code Pink ladies. So, I don't know how it's all going to shake out. I do know this, that podcasters who tell you to not vote, podcasters who tell you to don't be involved, to try and blackpill you on the Republican Party. This is all we have. This is what we have. I think the major problem with a lot of people and a lot of pundits, if I may be so bold, is that they don't have children under roof. Maybe they've been parents before, but their kids are up and grown. And there's something so primal about having an innocent child that's like completely helpless, that lives. And you see the effect that their lives could have if society collapsed. And you view the world through like the innocence and the fragility of like these little children and you just feel this natural instinct that you'll just do anything to protect them. And that's what we're fighting for. And so when various people in the podcast circles tell you that they would have preferred Kamala Harris be president? What are you talking about? You would have preferred not only a continuation, but an acceleration of the open borders. So like 100 million sparkle sprinkles coming in, like ruling over us. Every single one of them runs a fake daycare that gets millions of dollars from the federal taxpayer. You would have preferred Kamala starting probably not just the Iran war, but like 15 other wars over Taiwan and war over some Indian island you never heard of or whatever. Like you would have preferred that? You think you wouldn't have gotten war with Kamala Harris? And I'm not saying like that I like the Iran war. I don't. I made that very clear. And I don't want it to continue, and I want it to end. And you can advocate for that from inside of the party without burning down the entire tent. But to be like a single issue voter is really, I think, short-sighted. And as much as I don't like that, there have been huge victories for the president's administration. To like say that it would be better to not have President Trump in office right now, and instead to have the tyranny of sprinkle snookman and Kamala Harris riding on a toboggan together through the federal judiciary and crippling our nation demographically, flinging open the doors to every third world nation. Like, do you know that something like 25% of Haiti lives in America? Like 25% of everyone who considers themselves a Haitian lives in America now. We brought Haiti to America. We did the same thing with Somalia. We've brought the most filthy, dysfunctional third world nations into your neighborhood, and now they're our dependents that we have to pay their welfare forever. Studies prove that even after being here 10 years, Somalis are still on welfare at rates of like 87%. You're telling us that you wanted to continue that process, continue the mutilization of children, continue DEI, that you think Kamala Harris should have been in charge of America 250 so that some like fat lesbian could sit there and give some land acknowledgement on some rainbow stage? Like that's what the America 250 celebration would have been. And then they would have, I don't know, forced a bunch of white people, a bunch of white liberals to kneel and ask for absolution from BLM. Like that would have been like the America 250 celebration. That's what would have been it. They would have melted down the Statue of Liberty. Right? And made like a George Floyd memorial. It would have been a nightmare. And it would have been like, please. We get UFC at the White House. We get the Iran peace deal. We get Venezuela. We're about to get Cuba. We may get Canada after all this. There's a resurgence of right-wing patriotism throughout South America because we defunded USAID. The guy who defunded it just retweeted me. We always love that. Thank you for the retweet, Elon Musk. What did he retweet? Here we go. Let me get this straight. In America, a federal judge just ruled the government is not allowed to check whether people are voting. Let that sink in. A foreign-born Biden-appointed judge confirmed on a pure party line vote is verifying citizenship is illegal. Every other country on earth checks. Colombia, a narco state, requires ID to vote. We're told this is a violation of rights. This is controversial. How is this debate? The vote is being stolen in slow motion. Thank you, Elon Musk. Elon Musk repost. Thank you. And a huge shout out to Ryan, who also like assists in producing and building out content on our team. It's like so important that we stay in the fight. I am so sick of the doomers and black pillars. I'm so sick of people that are trying to like tear, and it's a spiritual battle at this coalition that won us a chance to save our country. Oh, it's enraging to me. And it's because I have little kids on the roof. I really do believe that's like a little bit of a superpower and a total bias for me. That I have little kids that I am responsible for, and that I have an obligation to fight and create the best country that I possibly can for them. And so that's my motivation, ladies and gentlemen. What is your motivation? Hopefully it is to live as free of a life as you can. You can't do that if you're in constant debt. American Financing can help you get out of that debt. American Financing is your home for home loans. It can help you get out of high interest credit card debt. It can reconsolidate your debt. It can ensure that you are out of an exhausting cycle of debt slavery and into freedom with rates that are not usury rates, that are not immoral as per the Bible, that is against usury. And that is far more, that would be like a reasonable, like a Fed funds rate, right? In the low fives. Anyway, you should call American Financing, 888-528-1219. That's 888-528-1219. AmericanFinancing.net/Benny will help you get out of debt today. Do it today. Okay, that's like my last little treatise on that. I mean, I don't know. I'm not I don't know what else. I don't know what else to say. Like, this is how we win. And the way that you win is you have to be an adult and you have to lock in and you have to like choose a side. It's too bad that we have a system that works the way that it goes. But we have a two-party system here. So you have to work within one of those parties and the institutions of one of those parties, and you have to work within it in order to facilitate victory for your side. And so that's what we're going to do. And that's where our hope is. But not all of our hope. Our hope ultimately is in our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. From Proverbs 28, our verse of the day. A tyrannical ruler practices extortion, but one who hates ill-gotten gain will enjoy a long reign. Ooh, I love that verse. Yes. What a nice verse. A tyrannical ruler harms their people, steals from their people. That's extortion, means you stole from someone. You took something that didn't belong to you. Tyrannical rulers steal from their people. Steal, kill, and destroy, the nature of Satan. Is something evil in your life? Is something demonic in your life? Well, ask, is something being stolen, killed, or destroyed? These are the actions, the fruits that tell you that Satan is moving and that Satan is a part of something. Good fruit comes from our Lord and Savior, and the Beatitudes shows you exactly what good fruit looks like. But one who hates ill-gotten gain, meaning somebody who is honest and upright and generous, in fact, not greedy, they will enjoy a long reign. Let us keep praying that our fight is victorious and that we may enjoy 100 or 1,000 years of America first. I feel like there is a special moment that is happening right now. And we must continue the fight and continue to be able to survive and fight through the ops in order to win. That's what we're going to do here on this program. Godspeed. Thank you for joining us. March with us. On to victory. That is assured. See ya.
Where the truth gon' be, faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be, faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be, faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light.